Alright, hello and welcome. Today we're going to be going over an integral tool for Street Fighter V called SFVSIM. But first, I want to give you a little background on me. Welcome, my name is Ramiri. I professionally do product demonstrations for the company that I work with. I've done over 1,000 demonstrations of the product that I sell, and I have done product demonstration for Fortune 500 companies to VPs of those Fortune 500 companies, so I have a bit of background in demonstrating products. That being said, if you have a product that you want to get demonstrated and you're interested in commissioning me out, I'd be happy to do that. But let's get into it. So, with the advent of the Street Fighter VI beta, we're going to be having a lot of people that are interested in the fighting game genre. But sometimes interpreting the data that is presented in fighting games can be very, very difficult. This tool, SFVSIM, has been built up and is an excellent source of information relating to Street Fighter V data as it comes to hit and hurt boxes. So let's get into it. I'm going to use my character as the background for this because it's the one I'm the most familiar with, which is Rose. So all you have to do to access this product is to go to sfvsim.com/diff, which I'll put in the chat right now. Once you're here, you're going to see a list of characters that you can choose from, and you can get into it. So let's do that. Click on Rose. We have a list of patches that we're going to contain the information related to the character, and we're going to want to click on the top one, which is the latest patch. So what we're going to see here is a lot of data. So we got the character's life, stun, V-gauge, V-trigger, stuff of that nature. And a whole bunch of data below it. And this is going to look really daunting at first, but I'm going to show you exactly how to view this data and then interpret it in a live environment. So first, let's start with the weaks, or the lights, or the jabs, whatever you want to call them. So this product uses numpad notation, which I'll go into very quickly. The 5 being neutral, 7, 8, and 9 being your jump directions, 4 being back, 6 being forward, and then 1, 2, and 3 being your crouching actions. 1 being down back, 2 being down, and 3 down forward. So we'll start by clicking on 5LP. Now we're presented with some basic data here, and we can click on the script for this button. So now we have a graphical representation of the hit and hurt boxes, but all we're seeing right now is the hurt box, which is the green squares. What that means is that if any active move with a hitbox intersects this green, you're going to get hit. With that in mind, let's take a look at 5LP and let's just analyze it. So without interruption 13 is the first thing we want to look at, which means that this move is present for 13 frames, meaning you hit the button, you're not going to be able to act again until 13 frames have passed. So you're not going to be able to guard, you're not going to be able to jump, you're not going to be able to perform any other action until 13 frames or 13/60ths of a second has passed. Because this game runs at a constant 60 frames per second, 13 frames without interruptions, 13/60ths a second. So we can progress along the timing of this move up to frame 13, because that's how long the move takes completely. So we start on frame 1, we move from frame 1, 2, 3, 4. So the move is active in 4 frames. One moment. So now we see some varying data here. We actually see the red boxes. Now these are the hit boxes, meaning that this is when the move is active. If this red box intersects with the green of our opponents, we score a hit. So what does this mean about standing light punch for Rose? Well, if we progress along 4, 5, and 6, okay, it's active for 3 frames. So frame 4, 5, and 6, the move can interact with a hurt box of our opponents and score a hit. So what does this tell me about standing light punch? Well, it tells me that it's an excellent poke. But why is it an excellent poke? Well, it's an excellent poke because straight up the hitbox overtakes the hurt box of your own character. We call this a disjointed hitbox. Now it has two disjointed hitboxes. It has one right in front of your character. You want to picture this green square as your character model. And then it also has a disjointed hitbox below. If we progress along the timing of the move, once we reach frame 7, now the active hitbox of the move is gone, but the hurt box remains for a time. We call this an extended hurt box. So 7, 8, 9, 10, and now it's gone on frame 11. So what that means is that if someone interacts with us within the extended hurt box, they are going to clip us with effectively is called a whiff punish. So they're going to punish our move because we didn't connect with it, and there's an extended hurt box that lingers from frame 7 to frame 10. All right, let's take a look at some other ones. So this is a great poke because of that disjointed hitbox. So let's take a look at some other examples. So I'm going to back out. And let's take a look at its cousin, 5LK. So 5LK is your neutral light kick, or standing short in old school terms. So same, we have our standing hurt box here, which is our standing of our character. There's also a gray box here. So the gray box, what does this mean? This is proximity guard. So from the moment that I stick out the move, starting on frame 1, I've hit the button, meaning this move is starting up. If my opponent is within this area, that means that we are going to cause them to go into a block or guard animation. So just keep that in mind. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so the move is active in 4 frames. So the data is obviously going to look different from 5LP, but what does this mean? Okay, we don't really have a disjointed hitbox. It's flush right up against the hurt box. So the red is flush against the green. Below that, we see that it has a disjointed hitbox below the hurt box. Let's progress along the timeline here. 4, 5, 6, 7. And we see we have a lingering hurt box for 1, 2, 3, 4 frames. So similar to 5LP, this move is effectively done with its animation at 11, but you're stuck in the attack animation from 11 frame to 17 frame. After frame 17, you can start moving, you can start guarding, you can start doing another action. So what does this mean about 5LK? Well, the disjointed hitbox is low. So if an opponent attempts a low attack and this move is active, you're going to win because there's no hurt box for their opponent to interact with, only a hitbox. So what this tells me is that it's an excellent counter to low moves. Not necessarily as good of a poke as 5LP, but it has a use in counter offense by just sticking it out, and if a low is anywhere in its range, it's getting punished. Let's move on. Let's talk about crouching lights. So first we're going to talk about 2LP, so 2 being our down. Let's click on it. So you'll notice something immediately different. The crouching animation of your character results in a bigger hurt box compared to a standing animation. So what this tells us is that every time that we're crouching, we're making ourselves a bigger target for our opponent to connect with. So you want to keep that in mind. Every time that you crouch, you're making yourself fatter, making yourself a big boy. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Move is active in 4 frames. But you'll notice a little bit of difference when it comes to the standing light punch in that, okay, the hitbox is right up against the hurt box. So it's not quite as good of a poke as standing light punch because it doesn't have the hitbox extending past the hurt box. So I wouldn't necessarily use this as a poke in neutral. 4, 5, 6. You'll see we have an extended hurt box on frame 6, so the move is only active for 2 frames, 4 and 5. Then it goes away, and we're left with a lingering hurt box for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frames. On the 6th frame, we're back to our crouching animation, and then the move resolves on frame 14. So we can start moving again, we can start performing other actions. So what does this tell us about 2LP? Well, it tells me that I want to use this as like a dash check, or if I'm already up flush against my opponent and I want to try a quick button to put them in block stun and start my offense. So that's what I would use it for, because if I use this as a poke in neutral, I'm opening myself up to risk for a significant number of frames to get whiff punished because of this extended hurt box. Next, let's talk about 2LK. So crouching, light kick. And here's where we'll start to see things a little bit different. Again, we have our crouching hurt box. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this has what we would call a disjointed hurt box, which means that the move is very risky to throw out in neutral, because from the moment that it's active, our opponent can clip us in this green area and avoid our active frames of our move, because our move in red doesn't reach past the green. 4, 5, 6. Okay, the move is only active for 2 frames, and then on 6 there's a lingering hurt box for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 frames. 7th frame, we're out of it. 13 frames is when the move resolves. So what does this tell us about 2LK? You do not want to be using this as a poke, because if you stick it out, you're opening yourself up to risk of getting counter hit. Or just the active frames of the move, sorry, not counter hit. You're opening yourself up to getting just hit as a whiff punish, even though the move is still active. So you want to avoid that. 4, 5, 6. So this move, you only want to use this when it is flush up against your opponent and you want to check them low. So generally, when it comes to kicks, especially low ones, they're going to come with significant risk of use because your opponent is forced to block this low. If they don't block it low, you score a hit. So it's a more risky normal to throw out, but you want to check people low. So use it when you're up against them and you want to check them low. Say they're walking back, things like that. Okay, let's move on to the mediums now. So we're going to start to see some differing frame data here, and we got to interpret it properly. 5MP, standing medium punch. Click here. We've got our thin hurt box again. We've got our proxy guard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this says status counter hit. So what that means is that from frame 1 to frame 5, we can be countered by our opponent. So if we throw this move out and something clips us within these 5 frames, we're going to get counter hit. 6. And here's where the move is active. For 6, 7, 8, it resolves on 9. But you'll notice something different about it resolving on 9. There's no extended hurt box. So what does this tell me about 5MP? One, that it's a ridiculously good poke. You want to use this when you're in striking range, or even when you're outside of striking range. There's very little risk to using this move because the hitbox is right up against the hurt box. You can get jumped in on because the hurt box up here is that, and you could get clipped low. But right when the move is over, there's no extended hurt box. So this is an excellent poke to throw out. Very low risk, do it often. 9, 10, 11, all the way up until the move resolves on 19. Now you will notice without interruption is higher, so we're opening ourselves up to a bit more risk when it comes to the length of the move compared to our lights, because it resolves in 19 frames. So just keep that in mind. Let's take a look, before we go on to the medium kicks, because this one's a little bit awkward, I want to talk about 2MP, or crouching medium punch, because this is going to be our other medium punch. Click on that. So we notice our crouching hurt box here. Proxy guard. 1, 2, 3, 4. Uh-oh, what's happening? Before the move is active, the hurt box is extending upwards and outwards. So what that means is before the move comes out, we have an increased possibility of getting counter hit because we're exposing ourselves a little bit more on frame 4. Not a huge deal though. On frame 5, the move is active. So, take a look at the hitbox of this move. It extends way past the hurt box. So again, this means this is an excellent poke. We should be using this as a poke in neutral to try to catch our opponent sticking out moves, or if we're in striking range of the hitbox of the move, we should be using it. Very good move for a poke. 5, 6, 7. Now, from 6 to 7, we go back to our original little bit. So 4 and 7 are pretty similar. We still have an extended hurt box. It's extending out low a little bit more. 8, 9, 10, so on and so forth, all the way up until the move resolves at 20. We can also use this type of move for counter offense as well. And when I say counter offense, I mean if our opponent is approaching us and we expect that they're going to be hitting a normal, we can back up a little bit and then stick out this move to counter their offensive choice. Because we have the advantageous hitbox here, and we can't be clipped for doing that move in this range. So practice this move, excellent poke. Alright, let's talk about 5MK. This is where things get a little bit weird with throws. We have our frame 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, something weird's happening on 5. So what's happening here? What's happening is the hurt box is extending off the ground. So this is an airborne move. The move is airborne on frame 5. What does that mean? That means that on frame 5, we are not able to be hit with any low move that does not reach this green hurt box. So that's going to apply to most lows in the game and all throws, because throws do not work against airborne opponents. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Move is active in 10. We do see not all that good of a poke because our hurt box is extended outwards from the hit, but when it comes to the low portion of the move, it's flush up against the hurt box. So that means this is a low crush or anti-low normal. So if we expect our opponent to throw out a low, we want to throw out a 5MK. We also want to use this offensively if we think that our opponent can be baited into teching our throw. Because the move is airborne, it's immune to throws. So if you do a dash and then a 5MK and they throw, you win. 10, 11, 12, 13. We have an extended hurt box for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, it's gone in 7. So what does that tell us? That tells us that this move could be whiff punished reasonably well. So we want to avoid whiffing this move when possible. On frame 21, we're back to our standing animation. So from all the way up from frame 5 to frame 20, we are immune to lows that don't intersect with the screen, and we're immune to throws. Not a good poke, good low crush. Now let's talk about crouching medium kick, which is everyone's favorite. Good offensive tool, but we have to consider the hit and hurt boxes here because this move is risky. We got a crouching hurt box. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, it has an extended hurt box starting in frame 6, and look at the extension that it gives us. So this is a very risky move, and it's active on frame 7. So take a look at this. The hitbox doesn't even come close to approaching the hurt box. So if we throw this move out, we're opening ourselves up to significant risk of getting whiff punished because we've got a lot of hurt box up here, we've got a lot of hurt box down here, and our hitbox is before the hurt. 7, 8, 9, 10. Oof, it's still there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So look at this. Look at the extended hurt box of this move that only starts retracting on frame 18. 19, 20, 21, 22. Okay. So what does this tell us about crouching medium kick? High risk, high reward, low attack. So you want to stop someone from walking back. You want to check low. You want to strike within striking range of the move. This is not a move you want to whiff. Because if you whiff it, your opponent has all the time in the world to whiff punish you. And they can whiff punish you with a mid attack because of how high the extended hurt box is. All right, and let's move on to the fierces. So everyone's favorite rose button, 5 HP or standing fierce. 5 HP. So this move is active within 14 frames. So it's very, very slow normal. But once it's active, you'll see the quality of it. 1, 2, 3. Okay, continuing onward. On frame 13, the frame before the move comes out, we have a slightly extended hurt box. And then we see this. Look at the extension on this hitbox. Look at how much space you have where you effectively cannot be hurt. If your opponent's extended hurt box or the regular hurt box is within this red, you win every single time. This is an excellent, excellent, excellent poke. You want to use it as a poke. But because it's so long, you could get jumped in on. And you see the extended hurt box here on the top, which means that you can get clipped high for using this move if your opponent jumps in on you. Active for 3 frames, which means pretty good normal. 14, 15, 16. But what happens on frame 17? Oh boy. So we've got our extended hurt box again. 17 and onward. It's still there, still there, still there. This is incredibly dangerous. Up until frame 32, we're extending our hurt box. So any character in the game can whiff punish this move reliably. And we have to be incredibly careful with throwing it out. Do not whiff this move. Be in striking range. Excellent poke, but be in striking range. Next is our 5 HK, standing roundhouse. Frames 1 to 11, but you'll notice something here. As we progress through this move, we start to move forward. 8, 9, on frame 9 we're moving 10, 11. Our character model is staying the same, but we're slowly moving our character forward before the move is active. And on frame 12, the move is active. So this move, I wouldn't call it a good poke because you see the hurt box wrapped around the hitbox, which means that not really a good poke because we can be, counter hit out. We can be hit out of it before, we apply the move because the opponent's attack intersects with our green, but not the red. 12, 13, 14, we're still moving forward a little bit. 15, we have a lingering extended hurt box. Still going, still going. You see our character model slowly moving forward. And then our character starts to retract a little bit. Back to its previous position. Our extended hurt box is gone. And when the move finally resolves on frame 36, we're almost back to our original position. So what does this tell us about 5 HK? We start here, we end here. So this is what we would call a deceptive range normal. We want our opponent to think that we're out of range, but then when we stick out the attack, we move forward and then strike. So this is a great move to play with our opponent's ranges and spacing, see if they understand what we're doing. It's also a crush counter move, meaning that if we score a counter hit, for example, this move is in counter hit status until it is active on frame 12. We can use this move to crush counter, which will result in a special state where we can get increased damage and V meter gain. So high risk, but high reward. Okay, so we've gone over the basic normals, but oh wait, we're missing 2. 2 HP and 2 HK, crouching. Let's talk about those. 2 HP. We've got our crouching, big fat boy here. And we've got our proxy guard, big box here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, the move is active on frame 8. And you'll notice that pretty good data here. Our hitbox is flush, actually a little bit past or flush against the hurt box, and it will interact with low moves as well, pretty well. But this move starts to progress in a very interesting way. From 8, 9, and 10, it's the same. So this is supposed to be our anti-air button, but it doesn't really seem much of an anti-air quality, at least for now. But once we get into frame 11, now we start to see why this is an anti-air move. The red is completely overtaking the green. So this is effectively a suit of armor on frame 11. If anything intersects with this, we are getting either a trade or we're getting a clean hit. Frame 12, it goes up even more, boosting its anti-air qualities. Same with frame 13. Slightly thinner, but slightly higher. On frame 14, we lose a little bit of our low extended hurt box. And then on frame 15, we're no longer active. So this move is very active. We would call this an active move because for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 frames, it is active. Very few moves have that quality. We usually assign that quality to anti-air moves. But the move resolves on frame 38. So if we whiff this move, or if we mistime it, or if our opponent jumps in on us after we've already used it, we're in trouble because we can't move, we can't act again until frame 39. So very long move. If this is blocked, we're very minus and we can get punished. And for our last regular normal, we have 2 HK. So this move has some really interesting qualities. So it's our sweep, right? 1, 2, you'll notice it's starting to move forward, and then we're active. We've got a slightly disjointed hurt box here, so not an excellent poke. 9, 10, 11. But notice what happens once the move is no longer active. It immediately starts to retract the hurt box. From 12, 13, 14, and it's gone on frame 14. So what that means is that this move is incredibly hard to whiff punish. Because from the moment that it's active and then not, it immediately retracts, and then we start to move back. So what does this tell me about Rose's sweep? Rose's sweep can be used in neutral, but your goal is to whiff with it, believe it or not. Your goal is to whiff with the move, and then entice your opponent to attempt to chase after it with their own normal. And they're going to attempt to whiff punish this move. And when they do that, the likelihood of them actually succeeding in their whiff punish is low, because we're retracting 3 frames or even 2 frames after it's active. So keep that in mind. It's a very good move to use in neutral, provided that your character is just out of range. If you connect with this move, it's incredibly unsafe. As you see, there's a lot of frames after the activity, which means that we're hella minus. So we don't want to connect with this move unless we have something like V-trigger to cancel it. Now I'm going to go over Rose's command normals. So first let's talk 6MK, which is forward, medium, kick. So we have our standard hip hurt box here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're starting to move forward a little, and we're airborne in 6. So this is another low crush type move. We're moving forward a little bit, and then we're active. So the hit box is right up against the hurt. We have some extended hurt box here on the top, which means that we could get, jumped in on or whiff punished with a high move. But if we look at it, as it's active, it stays pretty much the same. So this makes it a pretty good poke, but we have to make sure that we're in striking range with it. We do not want to whiff this move, similar to 5 hard punch or standing hard punch. Because 13 and onward, we see this extended hurt box. It's still going, and now it's gone. So it retracts pretty quickly, within 5 or so frames. and then we are back on the ground on frame 25. The move resolves in 34. So we can be jumped in on for using this move because it's a very long normal. So pretty much anything over 30 frames, we want to be careful throwing it out, because if we whiff it, then we're going to get jumped in on and we're going to eat a lot of damage. So strike, good poke, but strike with it. 3 MK. So 3 is down forward. So this is Rose's slide. So you'll see we got our crouching hurt box, 1, 2, and onward. We're slowly moving forward, slowly moving forward. The move isn't active yet, but we're moving forward. Now it's active on frame 10. We've got our disjointed hurt, meaning got to be careful throwing it out. Very small proxy guard though, and watch as the move shifts forward. Everything is staying the same with the hit and hurt box, but we're moving forward with our character. And then it resolves on 20, but we still have an extended hurt box and we're still moving forward. So what does this tell us about slide? A very, very risky low check from range. If we throw it out and it whiffs, we're going to be punished for using this move. If it connects and we're too close, the move resolves in 36 frames, so we're going to be very, very minus. Even on hit, we're going to be minus. So we have to be very careful throwing out this move. But it's a low check at range. We can also tie this along with Rose's V system to make it safe, but that's not the purpose of this lesson. We're just looking at hit and hurt boxes. Okay, 2 more normals, and then we will be through with the Rose portion, and then I'm going to show one other interaction. I'm going to show one other hit hurt box with Ken to display my point here. 6 HK, so that's forward, hard, kick. Standard beginning. As we progress, we start to move forward, and then we're active. Our hit and hurt boxes are flush on the top, but we have a bit of an extended hurt box or disjointed hurt box here. So make note of that. 12, 13, 14, and then it's done, and we have our extended hurt box continuing onward until frame 23, at which point Rose starts to move backwards, close to her original start, actually right up next to her original start position, slightly forward from 1 to 33. So what does this tell us about 6 HK? Well, this is also a crush counter move. So if we connect with this, we're going to score a crush counter. We can get an extended combo. But what this tells me is that I would use this as like a follow-up button. You know, if we're trying to anticipate our opponent moving forward, or we're anticipating them throwing out a fireball within our striking range, we're going to score a counter hit with this move. But it whiffs on crouchers because we see all this high, high, high. It's all high. So if someone's crouching near us, this move is going to whiff even at point blank range. So it's very similar to Chun's hard kick, where we have to stick it out if we expect our opponent to act within that range. Score a crush counter, continue our offense. And lastly, back hard kick, or 4HK. Continuing on here, on frame 4, it is airborne. So 1, 2, 3, 4, we're up in the air. So same with a standing medium kick. This is a very effective move to bait out throws and to bait out lows. So if we see a low or we expect a low and we're in striking range, we want to use this. But we're at 5, 6, we're moving forward. We're moving forward, so we want to make sure that we space this move out so that when it's active on frame 17, you'll see that this disjointed hitbox, that's what we want to connect with. This little tiny box, this is what we want to connect with. So what does this tell me about back hard kick? We don't want to just use it willy-nilly. We want to use it in a situation where the opponent has a very long, low attacking move, something that interacts down here. And we also want to use it as a poke when we can line it up. Because this move is very long, it's 41 frames in length. We're minus if this is blocked. So we're also moving forward. So we're effectively giving our opponent the ideal situation to punish this move if we're bad with our spacing. Because they block it, it's -4, we're going to take a lot of damage. 17, 18, 19. Starts to retract on 20. We're still moving forward, and we're still airborne. We're still there, still there. So extremely extended airborne attack. So something like Poison's Crouching Hard Punch, this just sails right above it. And then we're back to our normal state on 33, and the move resolves in 41. But you see, we're still moving forward. So this is an extended moving normal from 1 to 41. And that's where we end. So that's a basic overview of Street Fighter V Sim. There's a lot of advanced stuff we can go into here. You see a lot of stuff here that I'm not actually commenting on, like a lot of this graphical stuff. We can go into an advanced course later on, which explains what all this data means. But for now, let me go back to SFV diff. And let's talk about Ken for one move. So we go to Ken, we go to the latest patch, and I want to look at standing medium kick, so 5MK. So this move, I notice a lot of Kens use it as a poke. But I'm going to make the point that this is a very bad poke, and we shouldn't be using it to poke in neutral. 1, and onward, we're moving forward, and then we're active. But look at these hit and hurt boxes. The hitbox is surrounded by a hurt, and there's a big fat area here where we can just get struck. 9 and 10, we're still moving forward. The hit and hurt boxes start to retract, and then we're done. But we're still moving forward. On 17, we're back to a normal state. We're slightly moved forward from our original position from 1 to 17. And then we start to move back. So why isn't this a good poke? Well, 1, the hitbox isn't extending outwards from the hurtbox. It is not a disjointed hitbox move, which doesn't make it a very good poke, because we're exposing ourselves to danger all around the active frames of the move. What's the quality of this move? Why would we ever throw it out? We want to throw this move out in reaction to our opponent, because it comes out in 8 frames, and it moves us forward from our original position. So this is a whiff punish normal. We want to see our opponent do something and respond with the standing medium kick, because we shoot forward, we tag them, and then we go into our target combo and score massive damage. So that's this basic SFVSIM tutorial. I hope that this has been enlightening for you. If you have any questions, you can always hit me up on Discord. Or, again, if you want me to demonstrate your product or demonstrate anything for you, I'm your guy. Talk to you soon.